Manchester United spent billions. They won trophies and signed some of the biggest names in football. But not every transfer turned into a success. After years of protests, controversy, and growing frustration among supporters, the Glazer family's control over Manchester United's football operations finally came to an end. That chapter closed when Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos purchased a 25% stake in the club in early 2024. The Glazers first took over Manchester United in 2005. The deal was worth £790 million, but only £270 million came from their own money. The rest was borrowed against the club itself. From that moment on, many supporters accused the American owners of treating Manchester United like a cash cow, using the club's enormous revenues to support their wider business empire in the United States. The relationship with fans only grew more strained over time. The Glazers were rarely seen at matches. Old Trafford's redevelopment plan stalled, and co-chairman Joel Glazer managed much of the club's business affairs from his office in Washington, further strengthening the belief that Manchester United had absentee owners. However, one thing nobody can deny is that the Glazers spent heavily on players. Since arriving at the club, Manchester United have invested more than £2 billion on new signings, including a club record spending spree of £210 million during the 2022 summer transfer window. And despite the criticism, the club did enjoy success. Manchester United won 13 major trophies during the Glazer era, including 5 Premier League titles and the UEFA Champions League. But everything changed after Sir Alex Ferguson retired in 2013. Regular silverware became increasingly difficult to achieve. Managers came and went. Expectations remained sky-high, and many of the club's biggest signings failed to deliver. Some arrived with enormous price tags. Others came with world-class reputation. But for different reasons, they struggled to live up to the hype. Money, as Manchester United discovered, does not always guarantee success. From Jadon Sancho, to Paul Pogba, to Antony, these are the 20 worst signings of the Glazer era, ranked. Still the world's most expensive defender, Harry Maguire has endured a roller coaster ever since arriving at Old Trafford from Leicester City in a blockbuster £80 million, $102 million, deal in 2019. The England international was installed as United captain barely 6 months after joining the club, but he never looked like the right fit for a leadership role, and it was no surprise when he was stripped of the armband in the summer of 2023 after initially falling down the pecking order under Erik ten Hag. The record price tag has made Maguire an easy target for critics, with any glaring mistakes or unfortunate moments instantly pounced upon by fans on social media. The 33-year-old eventually won ten Hag over through hard work and became a stalwart for Ruben Amorim. But he will never be an elite center-back, and his continued presence in the United team only serves to further highlight how far they have fallen as a collective in recent years. Mkhitaryan was snapped up from Borussia Dortmund for £26 $33 million in July 2016, and he had his moments during his 2-year stay at United. The Armenia international scored 6 goals during the run to Europa League glory in his first season, including one in the final, and also netted a memorable scorpion kick in a Premier League clash against Sunderland. But he also developed a reputation for going missing in the biggest games, and he eventually lost the favor of head coach Jose Mourinho before being sold to Arsenal in a swap deal involving Alexis Sanchez. He also struggled for consistency with the Gunners, but has since shown the kind of form that initially attracted United to his talents in Serie A. United spent £17 million, £22 million, to sign Hargreaves from Bayern Munich in 2007, despite the fact he had missed the majority of his final season at Allianz Arena after suffering a broken leg. The gamble initially paid off as he enjoyed a solid debut campaign, which included a stellar Champions League final showing against Chelsea. But the England international only made 5 more appearances for the Red Devils after that night in Moscow. Hargreaves' body began to let him down, and after 2 knee surgeries that failed to reignite his career, United released him in 2011. He went on to join United's arch-rivals Manchester City, but only played 1 league game before retiring at the age of 31. In his second biography, Ferguson named Hargreaves as the worst signing of his tenure, writing, "He had definite value, but it was all lost in the fog of his lack of games." After 3 underwhelming years at Bordeaux, Obertan was handed the chance of a lifetime when United forked out a reported £3 million fee to bring him to Old Trafford in July 2009. No one was more surprised by the move than former United defender Laurent Blanc, who was in charge of Bordeaux at the time. He must overcome psychological and mental challenges so he can express his true value, said Blanc. The warning was never heeded by Obertan, who only scored once in 28 appearances during his 2-year stay in Manchester. After seeing Cristiano Ronaldo depart for Real Madrid, Obertan proved to be an unworthy replacement and became something of a journeyman after being sold to Newcastle in 2011. Ferguson had his fair share of bad buys before bringing the curtain down on his glorious 26-year reign at Old Trafford, including Brazilian ace Anderson, who joined United from Porto for £26 million, $33 million, in the summer of 2007. Anderson had been recommended to Ferguson by his brother Martin, who famously insisted that the midfielder was better than Wayne Rooney. His debut campaign was encouraging enough, as he featured in 38 games to help United win a Premier League and Champions League double, albeit without scoring a single goal. Fitness issues began to hamper Anderson thereafter, though, and he was unable to force his way back into United's starting 11 ahead of Paul Scholes or Michael Carrick. Anderson was finally released in February 2015, and former Red Devils coach Mick Clegg later revealed the main reason behind his failure in Manchester. Anderson was more than capable of being an absolute stormer of a player, Clegg told The Athletic. He just needed his head knocking. He didn't keep fit. He chose not to put in the work, so it's hard to have too much sympathy for him. He was a party animal. BB was a complete unknown when he joined United from Vitória de Guimarães for £7 million in 2010, both to United fans and Ferguson himself. I know Real Madrid were hovering, and so were Benfica. Ferguson has since admitted when quizzed on the signing. It was one of those decisions that had to be made quickly. Sometimes you have to go on instinct, and sometimes you have to trust your staff as well. This was a first for me, but we rate our scouting department very highly, and our scout in Portugal was adamant we needed to do something. The winger only featured in 7 games in his first season before being sent out on loan to Besiktas, Rio Avenue, and Pacos de Ferreira, and Benfica finally took him off United's hands in 2014. BB told Marca the following year, "I had a contract with a termination clause of €9 million, and within 2 days there was a team that wanted to pay it. And I went to Manchester. I thought they were joking. It's fair to say that this particular deal was a complete calamity across the board." Barcelona legend Valdés first arrived at Old Trafford in October 2014 to complete his rehabilitation from a knee injury, which had scuppered his chances of a move to Monaco. The Spaniard signed an 18-month contract with the Red Devils in the new year, but he only featured in 2 games for the club before being offloaded to Middlesbrough. The writing was on the wall for Valdés when then-manager Louis van Gaal alleged that the goalkeeper refused to play in a reserve game. He was excluded from the United squad photo for the 2015-16 season and stripped of his dressing room locker as a result, but didn't hold on to any bitter feelings towards Van Gaal. "He's like a father figure to me," Valdés told Sky Sports after his exit. "I don't want to remember the last 6 months in a bad way. For me, he is top. We are still friends, and there is no problem between us."